I've decided to do something a bit different than I normally do, and that is I'm actually going to read an entire chapter from my upcoming book before it's even released. Because, in all honesty, I think it's going to help people. I really feel strongly about this chapter. I think people who are suffering like mental health problems, especially parents who are alienated from their children, people who have lost a purpose in their life, maybe you've lost a loved one and you can't seem to inspire yourself to continue living. That's what this chapter does. I think it's going to really help people through that to figure out that there's more to life than just single moments. We have a lot of moments to live, and it's important we don't just like hold so tight to one moment and forgo our future. So my daughter's just been to the cinema with her mother, and they've just been to see Inside Out 2. I don't know anything about the film. Obviously know about the first one. I know a lot of adults are getting emotional watching this film. Now, I don't know the premise enough. I know obviously it's to do with your emotions and things, but I do feel there's a lot of unhealed people in this world, so it's not really surprising that people get emotional from it. Because if you haven't took accountability of things in your life, if you've allowed people to walk over you your whole life, you fail to set boundaries, you've got unhealed trauma. There's a lot of things we have to go through, and with me, it seems like I'm a bit stoic and ambivalent to things. But the reality is, I've spent so many years healing traumas, just healing everything around me, really. And I've documented the journey through my books, so I'm just a lot more involved in that sense. I don't let things bother me so much. And of course, once you're going through it for the first time, or you're finally addressing something, it hurts, and it's something you have to heal. So what I want to do is just read the chapter. I hope even if it just helps one person, it is worth releasing it early. It is what it is. So we must vent, express ourselves, and release things rather than hold it all in. Process frustrations and not pretend that life's a fairy tale. There's no point trying to convince ourselves and others that everything in our lives is perfect when it's not. Being anything other than authentic is counterproductive, only further hindering progress and giving false impressions to others. No one benefits from false representations of the truth. To transmute negative energy, we must first face and acknowledge it. Only then can we begin to process and heal. Because I'm only ever honest with myself, never obscuring the truth. I rapidly transmute circumstances. It can seem like I'm flaky with contrasting mood swings. However, that is a misunderstanding of my rapid healing process. When we face adversity or challenges, we aren't often pleased. But as we work through them, we should understand that there's a reason for everything. Sometimes I get fed up, wishing for an end to the suffering. But instinctively, I recognize that every situation is a chance for growth. Everyone exists for a reason, and we are supposed to learn and grow even through suffering. We don't encounter moments to destroy us. Instead, we gain opportunities to learn, overcome, and transcend situations. Eventually, we transition beyond it, but we need to process the challenge and make peace that life will often seem unfair. The universe challenges us to grow and move forward on our journey, but many repeat cycles because they didn't learn and overcome the situation to heal and evolve. So cycles continuously repeat until we learn the lesson. We must embrace self-love and focus on ourselves by providing regular self-care. It's not selfish to prioritize our needs and take time to re-energize and assess our priorities. Some people project onto others, requiring constant attention and validation. However, our priority should always be our healing. After all, we can hardly be of service to others when we cannot be of service to ourselves. Hurt people hurt people, so don't be concerned by others' projections and expectations. Some people need to learn boundaries, including ourselves. So when people project, they subconsciously attempt to place their burdens and insecurities onto others. Authenticity terrifies inauthentic people, so it becomes a threat to their illusions. Many superficial people hide behind false personas, never feeling secure enough to reveal themselves. Instead, it's safer to create a character and a persona which over time becomes so ingrained that people forget themselves, making them feel insecure around those who freely accept themselves for who they are, without regard for the judgments others have towards them. To be authentic is true freedom. Investing in yourself and existing in your purest form greatly contrasts fake people who spend their lives blending in to fit in with others. They lack the confidence or humility to be vulnerable through fear of judgment, and some place too much emphasis and importance on status. So instead of removing layers of falsehood, they double down and ridicule to project their frustrations. If they can lower others' self esteem, then it justifies to themselves that being authentic projects weakness, where in reality it takes immense strength to be ourselves. So it's wise to move away from people who anchor us rather than support us, and provide words of encouragement to those who need advice. The healing journey encompasses much self focus. However, that doesn't mean we can't be of service to those deserving of our time. Regardless of how challenging and tragic life can be, there's always a way out. Situations are usually better than we think. I've witnessed situations where people struggle to comprehend a way out of their predicament. It's significantly worse when circumstances affect our emotions through loss and heartbreak. For instance, some separated parents take their own lives, considering it best for all involved. However, no child would desire the loss of a parent, and through such a final act, they find themselves living a life of heartbreak and loss. We need to be less impulsive, reflect and comprehend the bigger picture, and have a long-term view rather than consider immediate circumstances as permanent when everything in life is temporary. Feeling like a failure due to struggles doesn't validate losing a life. Instead, we need to make peace with where we are in our life journey and recognize that with time, our story changes and breakthroughs can happen, where we find ourselves on new timelines and having new experiences. To deny ourselves and others of life is truly tragic. Parents need to recognize that struggling to provide financially for their children doesn't define them. Forget others' perceptions or feelings of failure, as life can improve with time. We need to understand that kids don't look back at material things with fondness. Instead, their best memories are of the love they had around them, which is priceless. I experienced a relationship breakup and parental alienation, which forced me to hit rock bottom, where life lost meaning. Everything of significance in my life was gone in an instant. However, as challenging as moments were, especially at the beginning, I've risen through it and transmuted my worst trauma to achieve my most significant success. Whilst fighting through family court for my daughter, I eventually began to recognize that my life has substance beyond being a parent, with meaning and purpose for me, not just as my daughter's father. She will always be a focal point, but I also started investing in myself and realized that life extends beyond them. As I watched her grow, develop and form friendships and relationships, I didn't want her to worry about me in the future. I'd put so much of my time, energy and resources into her, but upon reflection my life was on hold, which over time would eventually leave me feeling lost when she grew up and wouldn't be a fair burden on her or beneficial to me. So I knew I needed to focus on my dreams, goals and growth beyond her. Whether we realize it or not, we can and often do put the weight of our lives on others, and they feel that which suppresses them as they try to make us comfortable because they know we need them. I would never want to burden my daughter with my loneliness, so I recognized that I needed to realign my life with purpose and fulfillment, and eventually I found the light within. Circumstances don't define us, and the relationships we have change. Everything is temporary, so we have to make peace with that. We should consider life as chapters, recognizing that moments end and new beginnings occur. Many find new things concerning through fear of change and uncertainty. Still, another way to look at it is with excitement and the chance for new opportunities and experiences, which should be exciting rather than alarming. However, not all new beginnings are great, but some are remarkable and life-changing. Death is a certainty in all our lives. We're going to lose loved ones, and we're going to have a time where life ends for us too. It's the circle of life. When someone goes, it doesn't mean our life ends. We still have life to live, So, to take life away from ourselves because we can't cope with tragedy and loss is heartbreaking, because others have lived their lives and we have ours to live. Those passed on had their experiences, whilst memories live on, we have ours to create. So, when life ends for some, it continues for others until we reach a natural conclusion. It's imperative that we embrace the opportunity to live. Those gone would have loved to live just one more day. So, even through struggle, perhaps live on in their memory. Of course, life has meaning beyond those around us, but finding ways to cope with loss is fundamental to growth. We are the stars in our lives. However, too many people emphasize others while failing to recognize their significance in their journey. Our star should shine bright, not dimmed. Just because circumstances happen around us, it doesn't define us. Regarding my daughter, I focused all my energy on her. She was and is my world, and I would forgo everything for her. But I recognized where my life was heading. I thought, wait a minute, she's going to be a teenager soon. And I reflected that she would have new friendships and relationships, an entire life ahead of her when she finishes school. I realized I had to build my life in unison by being there for her but not diminishing mine. We must prioritize ourselves and recognize that life has meaning beyond external factors. Focusing on myself doesn't change how I feel about situations, how I love someone, or how loss affects me deeply. It's better to go with the flow, to allow change to happen. We have to adapt and become comfortable with healing. It's natural to hold tight to a circumstance or a moment, but we need to forge our future, which requires letting go of the past and freeing ourselves in the present. Our lives are meaningful, so we shouldn't seek to throw them away just because of a moment or situation. I've experienced the loss through the separation of my daughter. I've had numerous situations where people judged me and the weight of life sought to destroy me. I struggled, and I was on my knees, with many thinking that I was pathetic because I didn't have the same resources as them. I wasn't where they were in their journey without a romantic relationship, and I wasn't working. However, I was experiencing a trauma those around me would never be able to comprehend. So our life experiences differed, even if they perceived our circumstances as similar. It wasn't. Even my ex-partner, whilst contesting against me in a similar battle, had our daughter, began a new relationship, and gained financially from that. She would never know the loneliness and trauma I experienced. Perceptions can become skewed by those with no comprehension of the struggles endured through the loss and separation, whilst they had the life they chose. Regardless of the challenges and circumstances, I fought to improve my life by climbing out of despair and seeking the light. I knew healing would be a long journey, so I focused by ignoring all the noise around me. It didn't affect me at all. I kept building myself up by seeking continual goals to establish growth. Although people can be spiteful, what they think of us on our healing journey doesn't make any difference. People project, and some put others down to elevate themselves. The lower you are, the higher they are. But when people focus heavily on others, they fail to grow in their own lives. Moments never stay the same, as time continuously moves forward. I'm so focused on my journey that I don't have time to dwell on others' judgments. What others think about my life is irrelevant. All that matters is what I think of my decisions, progress, and aspirations, and that's all anyone should concern themselves with. What do you think of you? I want to be successful and enjoy a good life, but not at the expense of others. I seek a life of positive morality, so I don't gatekeep by my healing or thoughts on life, journey, and purpose. Instead, I try to uplift people because I recognize so many people need healing, so it goes beyond me. People need help, and we need more authentic voices to speak up rather than living superficial lives and looking up to role models with low morals who contribute nothing to others' growth or healing. People become inspired by celebrities and influencers who provide nothing meaningful in the world. They flaunt wealth to those impoverished, and I don't understand the appeal. Elevating people who fail to respect others and only strive to gain and not support makes little sense. On a fundamental level, people need to do some soul searching to find themselves, which takes time. So allow moments of peace to reset. There may be periods where we can't provide for our children or those we love to the same level we want, but it's only temporary. At the time of writing, I try to give my daughter weekly pocket money. When I'm struggling financially, it becomes more sporadic and less frequent. I prefer to give her structure and consistency so she can plan her spending and saving accordingly. But sometimes it's impossible. She's fair with me and I'm fair with her, so we have conversations. I give her the service she needs, like entertainment, like Netflix. Of course, I'd love to give her the world. She has so much humility that when we walk into a shop when she was little, I asked what she wanted, but she didn't want much. She knew my finances were limited in those moments, but it made me want to buy her the entire store. It's demoralizing when I'm not my best self yet. I have potential, but we're not living it yet, and I can't provide what I want my child to have. However, I intend to provide her with a glorious life in the future. Unfortunately, we both had to suffer to build a better life. The moments we've shared supersede money, and that's where I want parents to understand and reflect that our struggles don't define us. Taking our lives because of struggles isn't proportionate to the issues. We're not a hindrance to our children because we can't provide them what we want them to have. However, they primarily seek our time, a hug, being present with them, and knowing they can trust you. Love is priceless beyond measure. A value can't quantify it. Life changes through time, so struggles and circumstances are never permanent. So never make a permanent solution such as losing a life for the sake of a temporary situation. We need to invest in ourselves and take time to heal and grow, and then our transformation begins. To rebuild, we should focus on finding the things we enjoy and not overly concern ourselves about money, as that can come later. The priority should be to seek what matters to us, even if it's something creative, a hobby, or an interest. We gravitate towards our passions and what we enjoy, elevating our happiness and aligning us with peace and freedom. Eventually, we begin to feel free and happy with or without money. When we become comfortable with being poor, we don't fear change or hitting rock bottom, because we know that life's ebbs and flows continually change, and happiness and freedom transcend that rat race for money. Get comfortable through financial scarcity, and you'll gain resilience and strength through something many fear. Then when life improves, appreciate the progress and don't worry about following others' paths. So yeah, it's quite a long chapter, especially for an opening chapter, but you know, for me, it encompasses a lot and it sets the tone ready for the rest of the book, really. All my books have a level of healing in them. They have a level of, support, growth. And that's what I'm doing. But I try to do the videos as well to uplift people. And I'm going to be focusing on the podcast soon. So there's all sorts of things, really. But yeah, people just got to start speaking up more. I think if you're suffering, it's like let people know you're suffering. You don't have to keep it inside. It's not a weakness to ask for help. It's actually it's actually strength. But it's like understand that it's up to us. It's up to us to change our lives. Like you can seek support and you can seek advice, but you have to implement it in your life. You know, you can't ask for support and then expect everybody to do it all for you, though. You know, you have to implement it. So if you're suffering from an abusive relationship, for instance, and people are telling you, you know, you need to take these steps to get away from it, but then you feel like, you know, it's not fair for the person if you leave them and or I need them for this, you're making excuses. You either stay there and repeat the cycles and live that life for the rest of your life if you're choosing to, or you say, look, my life's going to be unstable for now. I'm going to lose a lot. It's the things I lose, it's going to hurt me, but it ain't going to hurt me as much as the suffering I'm going through now. So I'm going to have to take this leap of faith and see where it leads me. Ultimately, it's going to lead you to your peace and freedom. But it's like I talk about in my life. I got tornadoes around me. I've got on my little boat. I'm heading out into sea. There's going to be some stormy waters. But eventually I'm going to reach that island, you know, where it's just peace. It's like the island that I'm destined for, you know. So you can keep yourself in your tornadoes if you're choosing to, because it's familiar, because that's the problem people get to. They get attached to familiarity. Or you get on your boat and appreciate the fact that there's going to be some obstacles. You're going to get some storms. So it's not going to just be smooth sailing. That's very naive. But life can change and transform if you let it. But like I said, we have to take the action in our own lives. I've documented my journey. So if anyone reads my books, they'll know the journey I've been, and I do practice what I preach. I believe me, I take some leaps of faith that most people would be terrified to take. I put myself in poverty and hardship for my freedom. And it's really up to us, if you want to get to where your destiny is going to be fulfilled, then you're going to have to sort of release the shackles really and allow yourself to be free. And again, only we are responsible for our lives. Only we can decide that.